All right, everybody, just bringing you another little clip on research matters and matters of research, where I'm going to give you little pieces of research that I've come across that I think matters, and I'm going to tell you why I think it matters, and hopefully you can benefit from it. So this one is particularly interesting to me, and it's important because it's something that I see all the time. So what I want to do is present it to you. This is called Positive Mood and Resistance to Temptation, from the Journal of Consumer Research in 2010. How better moods led to better resistance to temptation between a choice of grapes versus M&Ms. But there's more to it than that, so I want to talk about it with you. So again, the title, we'll put that across the screen for you, Positive Mood and Resistance to Temptation. And let me read to you the abstract. We'll post this up on the screen so you can read along with me. We investigate the interfering influence of elevated arousal on the impact of positive mood on resistance to temptation. 3 studies demonstrate that when a temptation activates long-term health goals, so very, very important topic, right? Baseline positive mood facilitates resistance to temptation. That seems obvious enough. In 1, the choice between 2 snack items, one of which is more unhealthy, sinful, and harder to resist, the M&Ms, than the other, which is the grapes, and they monitored of consumption when the sinful option is chosen. However, this influence is attenuated when positive mood is accompanied by elevated arousal. We demonstrate that the cognitive depletion that accompanies elevated arousal interferes with the self-regulatory focus of positive mood, decreasing resistance to temptation. Okay, so let's encapsulate all that. What are they saying? Well, and this is why it matters. Well, what they're saying, I think one of the things that's pretty obvious is positive mood helps you resist temptation. When you're feeling good about things, you're in a good mood, whatever, for whatever reason, you're getting along great, then temptation comes along, you're able to resist it. But what things get in the way of that positive mood can sabotage your resistance to temptation, and then you choose a more unhealthy item. So as they say here in the quote again, is this influence of positive mood is attenuated when positive mood is accompanied by elevated arousal. We demonstrate that the cognitive depletion that goes along with elevated arousal interferes with the self-regulatory focus of positive mood, which decreases resistance to temptation. So you're going to come across that all through your day in all kinds of ways and means, and this is why it matters. So whatever presents and elevates your arousal and sabotages your positive mood will also weaken your willpower to resist in the presence of temptation, to resist that temptation. So here's how things play out. Here's why this research matters. Here's one thing. People will go on about how other people bring treats to work, or there's always cake at work or donuts, and people are teasing them with treats and that, and it really bugs them and gets them angry because they're trying to stick to their diet. Well, here what you see is it's not the treats that make you sabotage your diet. It's your reaction to it, your state of arousal, which kills your positive mood and makes you more likely to not be able to resist that temptation, even if that temptation happens later on. So what happens is, I've seen this for years and years with clients, what happens is they resist the temptation at work. They tell their coworkers, no, leave me the cookies, leave me the donuts, no thank you, no thank you. But because that arousal, that state of elevated arousal bothers them, it ticks them off, they lose their positive mood, and maybe even later in the day or the next time it happens, then they end up self-sabotaging their diet. So as we see, it makes sense that a positive mood helps you resist temptation, but things that elevate your arousal can lead to self-sabotage because it decreases your resistance to temptation. Now, here's another couple ways that works as well. If your diet itself causes you stress, worry, and anxiety, so you can wake up in the morning, feel really good, you had your diet meal and you're off and running, but if you're always worrying, you're following your Fitbit, and no one's doing research on this, And all that is elevating your arousal about you're worried about your macros and how you're going to get this in and how you're going to get that in. Well, that worry and anxiety, that can also decrease your resistance to temptation because your mood is negatively impacted and your arousal increases. Or even something like this, and now this is a new one that I've seen just in the last 5-6 years, but something like hate liking on social media, or following exes on social media, or people you don't like on social media, or whatever, and that elevates your arousal and or your stress as you're screening through, on your screen through social media, then that can cancel the positive mood that helps you resist temptation. Sound familiar? So you're going along, and then people will say to me, I don't know why I keep sabotaging myself. Why do I keep doing this to myself? Well, this research points to one way. One, the reality of life is that things that tempt you are always going to be around. They may not be around every single minute of every single day, but they're around if you notice them, if you want them to be, if you don't want them to be, whatever. A positive mood helps you resist temptation. Obviously, that's pretty obvious as well. But what things intrude into your life that elevate your arousal, and then, as the research says, the cognitive depletion that accompanies that elevated arousal, that interferes with your self-regulatory focus on your positive mood and how that decreases your resistance to temptation. So all the things out there that cause cognitive depletion, a lot of them aren't the presence of the stimulus, the M&Ms or the grapes. It's your reaction to that stimulus and how that stress level or arousal level impacts your mood state, and then that mood state makes you less likely to be able to resist temptation. So when you're scrolling through your phone on social media and it's canceling your positive mood and it's increasing your arousal level, and then later on you say, well, I don't know why I sabotaged myself. Everything was going well. Well, that's one of the reasons why. So, and then round and round it goes. The same thing with coworkers bringing indulgent food to work, and it just ticks you off. That's your arousal level affecting your positive mood, and that reduces your likelihood to resist temptation. Then round and round it goes. So in my experience, people who stress the most about diet tend to be the ones who self-sabotage. And that's what this research also points to, if you think it through. And as I always keep telling you, quality of mindset determines quality of behavior, not the other way around sometimes. And who needs comfort food when you are self-comforting in mood? So in other words, if someone brings junk food to my house and it's a diet day, I don't even flinch. No, thank you. It's not even. But if I allowed that to get to me, then that would resist my willpower because of the cognitive depletion that goes with it. Who needs a coping distraction when your mood and your emotional fitness is beyond a need for a coping distraction? So comfort food, or you're eating as a distraction, emotional coping. Well, look for the ways that your positive mood is enhanced by elevated arousal, is dampened by elevated arousal states, stress, etc., that you may not even be thinking are impacting you and depleting you in terms of cognition, which then leads to self-sabotaging mistakes. So another way of looking at this is via emotional fitness. That leads to healthy diet compliance. So maybe the diet you should be following is one of sound mental and emotional nutrition as much as sound diet strategy and application. So again, I thought this is why it matters. This is research matters. This is why it matters. We'll put this up again for you. Positive Mood and Resistance to Temptation from the Journal of Consumer Research, December 2010. How obviously better moods lead to easier resistance to temptation. However, things that affect that positive mood and get in the way of the positive mood, elevated arousal levels, impact and dampen your positive mood, and then the cognitive depletion that accompanies that interferes with the self-regulatory focus of positive mood, decreasing your likelihood to be able to resist temptation. Boom. That's why it matters. This is Research Matters. That's why it matters. look around you, figure out all the things you're doing or how you may be reacting to your day-to-day stimuli that take you from a positive mood but jack up your arousal levels in a way that dampens your positive mood and your self-regulatory focus that the positive mood has, and then that helps you figure out why you're sabotaging yourself. So there it is, Positive Mood and Resistance to Temptation from the Journal of Consumer Research. Research matters. This is research I thought it would matter and why it matters, so I started connecting some dots for you. Hopefully you will continue to connect some yourself. So that's been another episode of Research Matters. Hope it did something for you. Let me know in your comments. Comment down below. Let me know what you think, if I'm onto something, if you experience that kind of thing or you know someone who does. The more comments we get, then the more people interact, more they can figure out. So that's Research Matters, and that's why this piece of research matters. I'll see you all in the next video.